Okay, good evening. I'm Jerry Jennings, and on behalf of Great Falls Rising, which is a nonpartisan progressive movement that empowers individuals and connects communities while fostering equality, diversity, human rights, civil liberties, and a sustainable future through respectful dialogue, education, and advocacy. I welcome you and thank you for joining us tonight for a very special program about our young people in Great Falls. Many of our youth.
Oh, okay.
Can I continue? Shannon, am I okay to continue?
Yes.
Many of our youth are not doing well and are suffering from COVID-induced mental distress and loneliness, compounded by poverty, abuse, and food insecurity. We welcome our speakers from Alliance for Youth, Big Brother, Big Sister, Boys and Girls Club, and Fresh Rescue Kitchen Development, who will explain their services and outcomes so far. We'll discover what our community is doing for our young people, what more needs to be done, and how we as a community can help. I welcome the following experts and thank them for sharing this evening with us. Christy Pontiff-Stroop is the Executive Director of Alliance for Youth. Jessie Mayhew is the Executive Director of Big Brother, Big Sister. Sonia Smith is the Executive Director of Boys and Girls Club of Great Falls. And Mike Dalton is Supervisor of the Fresh Rescue Kitchen Development. After all of them have spoken, we'll welcome questions from our audience. Please enter your questions in the chat room where Great Falls Rising board members will find them. So now, Christy, could you speak to us? Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. This is Christy Ponte-Stroop live from home. So I do want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to just speak and share what has been going on at Alliance for Youth the last year and a half. And then also to thank all of my fellow partners that are doing such critical and important work. Boots on the grounds is what you all are. And we are warriors for youth, and so I truly appreciate you, and I'm excited to hear about what you guys have been doing too, because I feel a little disconnected from some of our partners during this last year and a half, right? All right, so I'm going to talk to you guys. Am I ready to share my screen? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to share my screen. I don't have a presentation more than I'm going to be showing you all of the flyers and little parts of our annual report to show you some of the different things that we did do for youth during the last 2 years. Well, more a year and a half. Great. Do you guys see that? No, I can't see you. Hold on. Okay, so you guys see that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Alliance for Youth has been an organization in Great Falls for 35 years. The majority of our work has really been around prevention. A lot of those preventions and building programs and policies with health systems, justice systems, working with education systems have really just been a lot of advocacy and awareness and policies, and again, building programs for maybe other systems. About 5 years ago, I became the Alliance for Youth Director, and due to some other things that were being kind of changing in our community, we were housed by the school district for 30 years, and the mill levy passed, and it was kind of a good opportunity. We were going to get shift around, and we moved 3 times in 1 year, and it was just kind of time to separate ourselves away a little bit. And I had worked with the juvenile justice system, mainly working in the coordination for the juvenile drug court. So I'd seen a lot of what was going on for these youth. And we were seeing a lot of kids that were running away from home at that point in time when I first started at Alliance for Youth almost 16 years ago. And it just has progressed over the last several years into more than just runaways. Now we're dealing with, some true homelessness situations. 475 youth were, at some point in time considered to be homeless during 2019. And that number has actually increased up to 550 from last year. And so we knew that we needed to kind of come together with some partners. Also the Converge play that came out, when I hope that some of you got an opportunity to see that. If not, there is a link and a video available that we could share with you. It was so powerful to have those kids share back with us the real life struggles that they were living through. And, you know, they really had kind of they put it back on the community to step up and help them out and, you know, be part of that solution. And the Youth Resource Center kind of became the dream that came out of that. And it happened rather quickly. And we had a very unique opportunity where a building was offered to us. And September 18th of 2019, the Victory Church from Pastor Gary Hart was offered to Alliance for Youth. And at that time we had no money, no way of paying for it. So we entered into a very unique situation of living there for free and with a promise to raise the money and buy the building. So I'm happy to report that we were able to do the ribbon cutting and purchase the building on September 16th of 2021. So how exciting is that? So now we have all of our services under one roof, but we opened up this Youth Resource Center in the middle of a pandemic. So that was pretty interesting. You know, we had started our Capital Fund campaign in the middle of a pandemic. So that was, again, extremely interesting and very challenging, with a promise to buy this building, right? We opened up the doors to serve youth on May 5th of 2020. And some of the kids were started trickling in because the schools weren't open. We really didn't have a whole lot of referrals coming in except for some of our mental health partners. But we slowly started to see more and more come in. And we are now will average, it kind of varies because it is a drop-in center, but we will go from 8 kids a day all the way up to 24 kids a day that will cycle through here. And we serve ages 13 to 20, but we have also had some other programs in our building that serve adult ages. So the Youth Resource Center was a response to our community and the youth homelessness and the needs that were needed to be met for more of that adolescent age. There was a gap in services in our community for that adolescent age. And we developed the Youth Resource Center, a place where kids can come to a safe environment and they can access laundry, they can access a hot meal every day at 6 p.m. They can take showers, access our food pantry, get hygiene products, get employment support, education support. I mean, kind of whatever their individual needs are. And it's very low barrier. So they come in and they could give us a fake name if they wanted to. There's not really, we build relationship with them first. There was no need for a diagnosis. Everything is free once they walk through those doors, and they can have a hot meal and take a shower and not talk to us, turn around and leave, and maybe come back the next day, and maybe we don't see them for a couple more weeks. What we are seeing though is the youth continually do typically stay with us for about 4 to 6 months. Sometimes some of them have tapered off, but they'll see us again. They'll come back either to do an employment application or sometimes just to tell us how well they're doing, or maybe not how well they are at all. And we'll need to kind of re-engage in some services. So this is a snapshot from what I'm showing you right now is the Youth Resource Center, and it's a snapshot from last year. Our fiscal year, which is July 1st through June 30th, we did serve 214 unduplicated youth during that time. And, you know, they were accessing all of those services that I just mentioned. We did do a lot of education support. So we had 105 students that were receiving continual tutoring from us last year. And we did get to see a lot of success in helping support kids through that process of, you know, the online, then hybrid, you know, the uncertainties up and down, and kind of some loss of learning as well that was going on. We've had life skills, we've done woodworking, we've done cooking classes, literacy. We've even, we didn't put this in this report, but we even had automotive 101. We've had plumbing 101. where we've hosted that in the building too. So we do a lot of, again, life skills to bring that to all of the people in all of the services, and invite everyone in our programs under Alliance for Youth to attend those types of workshops. Okay, so meals were provided. We also did lunches in the park. We were providing sack lunches. We provided almost 4,000 sack lunches last summer. There over 1,300 meals were served, nearly 600 transportation rides. We will go and pick up. We have 2 vans. We've been blessed by the community, as well as some funds that came through the CARES Act, but we were able to buy another van to increase transportation to pick up kids and bring them to our center, and even also take them out to access other needs in the community that they might need. We have held a Back to School Hope Fest. We've just held our 2nd annual one in August. This was our first one, and we served nearly 400 kids our first year, nearly 600 kids this last year. And we had haircuts. So there was over 200 kids our first year that received haircuts. That was amazing. I loved that day, seeing their smiles when they came out. And we've done street outreach. We go to the parks. So we go to the skate park and do a Thursday night barbecue every Thursday during the summer months. And then in the winter months, we are out on the streets handing out coats and gloves. We go out physically to the streets to find kids, meet with kids where they're at, have conversations with them, and just let them know that the Youth Resource Center is there for them. Volunteers, I'll take it back up there. We have a lot of volunteers. We couldn't operate the Youth Resource Center. You can't man something like this without an army. You would never be able to, afford the overhead. So volunteers is huge for us. We have a number of volunteers, and we did have 125. And then when COVID hit, we lost, that was slashed down to like maybe 30. So it made things a lot more challenging for sure, but we, totally understand and needed to do that as well, because of the fact that we needed to keep a lot of our elderly volunteers safe during COVID. We offer trainings, all of those trainings to our volunteers. In order to be a volunteer for the Youth Resource Center, you have to go through a background check, you have to do trauma-informed care, CPR certification, and then we also do motivational interviewing. There's a lot of skills that are put into our volunteers before they're able to access the floor and have that one-on-one with youth. A lot of the volunteers that we have, though, are former teachers and military that really help support us, and especially with the tutoring. One of the things that we did this last summer was a wall. So you see that we did a mural down in our basement, and it is absolutely powerful. I hope that some of you will make it a point to reach out to me, and we'd love to give you a tour sometime. So in response to the mental health needs, this is kind of jumping on me, I'm sorry. The mental health needs in the community and with the youth, we have established different support groups that exist in the evenings, usually it'll start either between 4 or 4:30 p.m. On Mondays, we have, it's called the Huddle, and this is a trauma group. It's a process trauma group, but we don't want to traumatize kids who've been traumatized by telling them to come to trauma group and talk about their trauma. So we call it the Huddle, and it's a process trauma group. We actually have had it grow so much that we've had to break it up, and we have a middle school and a high school one just to make it more age appropriate. During the last year, when we were meeting with youth and they were kind of just expressing their needs, they were extremely stressed out, and just shared how, this is their exact words, they're like, we're freaking out, like our peers are freaking out. They were, the uncertainty in the world, the loss of learning. They were getting ready to take their some of them were getting ready to take their ACTs, and they didn't feel prepared, and there was a lot of student stress. And these kids were just really kind of dealing with more than they would normally because of our circumstances of, the pandemic. So we developed some workshops. First, we started just hosting workshops for the kids in the community. I don't have that flyer, but it was called Level Up. Instead of us saying, hey, come to a stress group, how about you come to Level Up? And we're going to talk about some different things that we can do, tips and skills to conquer your fear and stress, build resilience, learn about conscious mindfulness, get some tips and advice. Some came to that workshop, and then we took it and moved it in June to a weekly group. And that weekly group meets every Wednesday in our building from 5 to 6. Prior to that, there can be individual mental health sessions where we have a couple clinicians that come in to do individual mental health sessions before the group starts. And we continue to see a lot of kids utilizing the Level Up group as well. We've added, I don't have a flyer for this, but we've added Seeking Safety. And that is on Tuesdays. That's for girls. And that is all about body safety and, protecting yourself and not putting, how to protect yourself from situations presently and in the future. One of the other things that a lot of people are not aware of is Alliance for Youth has actually a very robust support for training in mental health. We have a number of mental health trainings that are free in the community. If you come back and look at this, this is kind of all the red flags that we've seen and some of the dates. I'm not going to read all of this to you. This is just our visual aid to show you, the red flags of what you should see when you're looking for depression, where we kind of are with our numbers, and to reach out. That's a flyer that we've had and we use as an educational tool. But in regards to the trainings that we have, we go to schools, we train juniors, seniors. We are going out to the Air Force Base to start training airmen. We will parents, coworkers. It's really important for all of us to have the skills to know when someone is in a mental health crisis. Having those appropriate skills and techniques of how to reach out, how to identify it, how to reach out, how to respond, and then where to refer them in the community. So these different levels of trainings that we offer are, again, all for free. We can come to you and train them to your staff, train them with your family, do a training with your friends. We have question, persuade, and respond. That's about 2 hours because we make it a little bit more interactive. And then we also have a youth mental health first aid, adult mental health first aid, and then assist, which is applied suicide intervention skills training. That is probably the deepest, and it's really raw. And we would always want you to go through at least a mental health first aid or a QPR before attending and getting the training and assist. We're actually going out we've trained a lot of the rural schools, and we're going to be doing more of the rural schools this year as well. And we just got done training some teachers during the summer in mental health first aid for Great Falls Public Schools. We have a lot of parent support groups, and during COVID, we responded and took them virtual. It wasn't always very successful, but we did what we could to stay in contact with our parents. So we have a number of parenting support groups and services that exist in our building as well. I won't read them all to you. Again, I'll let you come back because we do have a number of them. We have probably 6 different support groups. And this is all by Nicole. She's our instructor. Oh, I gotta go back up. That all looked kind of the same color. So then there's the app. We have an app, it's called Let's Talk. It was actually built 4 years ago through the help of, it's not really showing up here at the end. It's really small. Sorry, guys. The Let's Talk app, we took our youth advisory board and local youth actually helped us build an app so that when you are in a time of crisis, you can reach out immediately and find what is the nearest and closest safe person that you can reach out to in your time of crisis. It also has journals in it. It has the opportunity for you to reach out immediately to the crisis suicide hotline. You can do the text line, you can call in directly. What is cool and unique about this is if you were, say, in another part of the state, it's geo mapped, so it'll ping wherever you are, wherever your location is, and it'll ping up whoever is closest to you and where you can get to. And we've used in some of our rural areas that we have like shared this app with and expanded it to. It might be a local coffee shop that has gone through, the owner has gone through and been vetted and Nicole will then go and do the trainings for mental health first aid to these communities and then train people within so that they have safe places even in these rural spots when kids are like in a time of crisis. We had 3 suicides in our rural communities very near to us last year that we had to go respond to and spend at least 2 weeks of time. That was 3 of my staff being sent out to those rural schools. Great Falls Public Schools has an extremely well, support system, but our rural schools really don't have a lot of access to some of these supports. So we are kind of positioning ourselves to be that support for them. And it's been working out well, but I think education has been really important. So really why we want to go out more and do more training is so we can equip parents, especially kind of in some rural areas where they think that their kids don't have those kind of problems or that they don't see those types of issues in that school. So it's really good education and stigma reduction that we really need to be doing. The app has been also adopted by the Office of Public Instruction. They have given us some funds this year, so we are going to be working with them and expanding this. We are taking the app statewide. Sorry guys, the buzzer on my dryer is going off. So this app will be we're going to be using our youth advisory board to give it even more of kind of a facelift, go through it. We've been able through a wonderful grant through Blue Cross Blue Shield that we just recently received. We're going to be able to put some funds towards updating our app, making it even more usable. And then with OPI taking it statewide so we can have even more spots and spaces that are safe spaces that are available for teens. So even if they go to college and they leave their little small town, hopefully when they go to their college, they can, ping this up or communicate with somebody through the app that they might need support and help. It's also great for parents too, to be able to download so that they can kind of go through and educate themselves as well. I think this is all that I have for right now. These are the different things that we've done and we've improved on and enhanced during these last year and a half to be able to provide more for students that are, dealing with even higher levels of mental health and stress or emotional distress.
Christy, I want to thank you so much. I want to let people know that the tours that are given at Alliance for Youth are just outstanding. And could you give us the address, Christy, of Alliance for Youth, please?
Yes, it's located at 3220 11th Avenue South. It's kitty corner behind Super One.
So I've been on several of the tours and I've learned so much. And I think that everyone on this Zoom would really benefit from it. But I haven't been updated lately. So this is wonderful, a wonderful update. Christy, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And stay on for questions and answers at the end.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. Jesse Mayhew from Big Brothers and Big Sisters, you're next. And please unmute and we welcome you.
Very good. All right. Well, I don't have any fancy slides to show. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. So I've been executive director here for about 1.5 years. So part of the COVID class and starting this position. But I was executive director for Big Brothers Big Sisters over in Kalispell for 5 years. And I had really gotten to know my predecessor, Colleen Brady, who passed away just a couple of years ago. And it was a real honor for me to come and work for the same organization, as she had really been a mentor to me. So it was really special to come to this position. So we, Big Brothers Big Sisters, you probably know what we do, but just in case you don't, we create and support mentoring relationships that really help ignite the power and the promise of youth. And so we unite the volunteer mentor, who's called the Big, with the children, who are called the Littles. So it's the Bigs and the Littles. You've probably heard in this group, I imagine, about adverse childhood experiences, or about ACEs. And you may even have heard about how that can come back and affect you later in life as an adult, those tough times that you go through as a kid. And you may even know this, but Harvard's Center for the Developing Youth tells us that there's one thing that helps build resilience, one common factor, and that is having a committed, stable adult, at least one stable, committed adult that shows up for those kiddos. And that's something that all of the programs here today really do. And we really focus on that. And I think that keeps us going. I think that gives us inspiration. We know that we can really make a significant difference by connecting kids with adults who show up consistently for them. It's a change that really could have a lasting effect in our community. So our community-based program, we match bigs with littles, and they go out and do stuff in the community, like go skiing or bake cookies or eat ice cream and play cribbage, go hiking, any kind of adventure they can do together. That program is for littles age 6 and older. We at this point are serving ages 6 through 18, but we have actually made some changes, and we can actually serve up to age 21 now, which we're excited to try out. Our school-based program is we match both adult and high school bigs with a little, and they go and have lunch and recess at the school. And that's been on hold because of the pandemic, but we're excited to be able to start that again soon. We've actually restarted that program in Helena, and we're taking steps to restart it in Great Falls very shortly as well. And there could be an after-school component to that program as well. So we're excited about that. This year we've served 89 youth that we've connected to a big. Those numbers are down just a little bit, mostly because we weren't able to get into the schools to do the school-based program. About 72% of the youth we serve live with a single parent or with a grandparent. And about 14% have at least one parent who is incarcerated. About 70% qualify for a free or reduced price lunch. And 57% of our family households earn less than $15,000 per year. I can definitely say COVID has had an impact on the work that we do. We've definitely seen that extra stress that Christy was talking about in our families because of COVID and the pandemic. I feel like it's always a good time to have more mentors, but I have to say I have the feeling that it's probably even more important to have mentors right now. And we definitely see that in the families that we serve. We did have one of our littles experience the loss of his grandmother due to COVID, and that was a very sad situation. We were happy that at least he had a big brother who was there to support him through that time. And our staff did a great job of supporting the big and the little in that situation. with all the challenges of the pandemic, our staff has done a great job adapting, as have our volunteers. There was the time when we were pretty much all shut down. And during that time, our bigs would bake cookies and deliver them to the home of the little and leave them outside the door. And they were communicating virtually. There's even some of our bigs, I think there's a computer game where you can play the game together and communicate with each other at the same time. So they were doing that, but they were all able to keep in touch during that time. And now most of our bigs are getting back together again in person and just being safe and following COVID guidelines. We do on occasion have activities where the bigs and littles get together in a bigger group and come together to do an activity like snowshoeing or archery, etc. But the way our program is designed, for the most part, it's the big and the little that go out to do activities in the community on their own. And so that's been at least helpful in this time during COVID, where we're not bringing a big group of people together. And so it's a little bit easier for the matches to get together. Overall, I think it's been harder to recruit volunteer bigs during the pandemic, but I do get the sense that is changing. I think people are wanting to help and wanting to get out and see what they can do. And so I'm excited about that. This is interesting. So some of our outcome numbers for the past year are a little bit lower than normal. We do surveys and we do some evaluations throughout the program to just kind of see how the youth are doing, where they're at, and then we hope that we can help them do better in school and do better with their relationships with their peers and with their family. Just by having a big in their life that's there to support them. And these numbers are actually a little lower than they usually are. But when I think about the year and a half or 2 years that we've had with COVID, it's actually pretty remarkable. So in the past year, 76% of our littles, 76% showed improvement in self-confidence. And 72% increased in their ability to talk about their feelings. 66% improved in decision-making, and 72% performed well or better academically. And, that's not too bad for the year that we've had. So I actually think that's pretty exciting. We are working hard to spread the word. We want to serve more littles and we need to recruit more bigs. Please help share the word about that. It takes about 6 to 8 hours is what we ask for the big per month, just 6 to 8 hours per month. And when you think about the impact that you can make, it's a little bit of a commitment, but man, when you think about the impact and the life that you can change, it's really not asking that much. I know I'm a big in our program, and with my schedule, it works out well for me to spend time with my little every other week. Every other week for a few hours, I can do that. We've done a lot of work in the last year to really look internally at our organization and to really build a stronger organization. When I interviewed for this position, I talked about making incremental change and taking our time to adjust and make changes. But little did I know how quickly I would realize things needed to happen. So we've changed our board structure. We wrote new bylaws. We are working on changing our name, which is pretty exciting. We've been called Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Helena and Great Falls, but we very soon will be Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Montana. which is so much better. You may know the history of our organization a little bit, but we, Big Brothers Big Sisters started in Great Falls. I think it was in 1974. And in 2015 to 2016, the Great Falls organization and the Helena organization merged. And we had a community council in Helena and a community council in Great Falls, and then they would appoint board members to a central board of directors. And in this last year, we just kind of scrapped that. Now everybody is on one central board, and we're much healthier, and changing our name to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Montana is going to go a long ways to really build upon the strength that we have already. So we're really excited about that. We've changed our fiscal year just to match how we record and report our program data. So our fiscal year is going to match the calendar year, which doesn't maybe seem like a big deal, but it's gonna be incredible for us going forward. And we've also really taken a look at our funding structure. In the past, we've been really, I would say, addicted to events. We love events and we're pretty good at putting them on, but they take up so much staff time and so much volunteer time. And so we're just being aware of that and shifting our focus a little bit more to individual giving and really trying to build a sustainable individual giving program. Another thing that we've noticed, over the last 20 to 30 years, Big Brothers Big Sisters has had a lot of state or federal grant funding, but then you always end up losing that funding at some point. And when it becomes such a huge part of your budget and you lose it, then you're in a crisis, and our program is just too important to fail. And so those are a couple of changes that we've made that I think are going to help us build a sustainable program that can build, year after year to serve more kids. So we're really excited about that. Another thing that I'm definitely interested in is partnering with, of course, everyone that's sharing today and with others as well. So I'm excited about that. And I will save the rest of the time for others and for any questions that come up. So thank you.
Jesse, thank you very much. We're pretty excited about the change in the name as well, because we get a lot of comments in Great Falls about, well, what about your rural constituents? And they do get left out. It's sort of flyover country. So thank you for changing that name. And I have never known a big that didn't just have a wonderful relationship and a wonderful time doing that. So let's hope that we can find some more bigs, because we know we've got the littles. So thanks a lot, Jesse. And next, I want to introduce Sonia Smith. And Sonia is the Executive Director of the Girls and Boys Club of Great Falls. Sonia.
Yes, thank you for having me as well. And it was nice to meet you the other day in the office. So I too will tell you a little bit about the history of our organization, what we do, and then what we've been doing through the pandemic as well. So since 1996, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Cascade County has been helping youth in Cascade County and some of the surrounding communities stay out of trouble, stay in school, succeed in life. Our organization operates 3 safe neighborhood branches where kids can spend time after school, during the summer, and when school's not in session. We're not just an after-school hangout. Clubs are places where young people come and learn, do social skills, express themselves creatively. They participate in a variety of programs. Programs that are offered at the Boys and Girls Clubs are in 5 core program areas: character and leadership development, education and career development, including technology, health and life skills, the arts, and sports, fitness, and recreation. Through these programs, we prepare youth for success in the 3 areas of our impact academic success, good character and citizenship, and healthy lifestyles. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Cascade County is an independent, locally governed and managed affiliate of Boys and Girls Club of America. Our board of directors is made up of local business professionals and community leaders who are committed to our mission. Our mission is to enable all young people, especially those who need us the most, to reach their full potential as productive and caring citizens. As with everyone across the nation and worldwide, we stopped in our tracks March of 2020. Everything changed. We took a deep breath on that Friday in March, and our team jumped into action on Monday. While individually we were all wading through our own personal fears of the unknown, we knew we needed to jump in. We knew our families were feeling a tremendous amount of fear. We knew the youth in our community needed us, and we knew we had to help. Knowing how many meals and food pantry items we offer daily, weekly, monthly, we had no doubt this was our first priority. We immediately transformed our main facility into a food distribution center. We worked closely with our food partners, St. Vincent de Paul, Albertsons, the Kids Garden, 2J's Fresh Market, and our already existing food vendors. We were lucky enough to even have fresh produce boxes provided by an out-of-state vendor throughout the entire summer. We received approval from our existing food program to adapt to the COVID pandemic. The transformation in our facility was life-changing, to say the least. We created an assembly line of food boxes. We packed meals. We called every family to address their needs. We made over 300 calls from our main facility and 100 in Belt in those first couple of weeks. We continued the calls until we were fully open again. We created food boxes based on family size, need. We provided breakfast and a hot lunch at 2 of our facilities for any child 0 to 18 years old, Monday through Friday, from March through August. Our club staff managed over 43 tons of food for over 400 families. We served 51,884 meals to youth between March and August of 2020. Our food distribution consisted of both pickup and delivery. We had some families even tell us that it was the only food they were living on. Not only was our food distribution beyond incredible, but our staff leapt into action, helping kids manage their new way of homeschool. Our staff became over the phone and Zoom mentors, assisting youth to understand their at-home work, especially when they were not receiving the help they needed due to varying circumstances. Our staff created fun videos, yoga videos. They prepared 1,300 take-home activity kits that they could log into a YouTube video and follow along with us. Our check-in calls helped us to better understand how families were holding up during such a confusing and difficult time. We watched some of our youth fall farther, but we watched some families learn to let people help. We continued to look for ways to better serve families and refer them to the needed resources. During our Closed for Kids time, we also kept our staff working. We upgraded facilities. We transformed spaces and created a theme of hope and dreams and positivity throughout all of our units. We were thrilled when we were able to serve youth in the after-school hours. We knew that the added mandates in the beginning would change how we operated the delivery of our program, but we knew we needed to be back in action. Our headcount was very low at the start of the school year. Parents were still afraid. Our blended schools in our facilities added to the fear. Our numbers continue to increase. We are beginning to see families look for opportunities and services. We're loving the laughter and the fun in our clubs. Our food pantry is still growing so much that we're building a standalone pantry within our main site and have continued to journey for the development of our Fresh Rescue project, which you'll hear more about in the final presentation of the night. While we've begun using the term post-COVID, I fear we're not quite post-COVID yet. Funding support has definitely changed. We see businesses remove their masks. We no longer see nothing but hand sanitizer everywhere. but we are seeing the many setbacks that are in our youth. Anything from depression, behavior issues, learning loss, and the continued food insecurity. Kids are craving sports and fitness. They're craving friendships. And for many, they're just thankful to have their school routine back. Kids are just trying to grow up. Our organization is still finding its way through the pandemic. Our fundraisers have been canceled. Our traditional club events have been altered in such a way that we're not able to provide lasting memories that we once had. Our needs have not changed, but our avenue in which we address our needs have. We still need volunteers. We still need donations, both in kind and monetary. We still need fundraisers to fill the budget gaps. We still need our community partners. I hope that you take the opportunity to look for ways to utilize your time, talent, and resources to impact any of the nonprofits in our community, because your gift of time or talent or resource would truly change a life. So that's my presentation. I do have some handouts that I can email to anyone who wants to put their email in the chat. I have brochures. I mean, I didn't know what was easier on the screen. You wouldn't have enough time to read it. So I'm happy to share those. If someone wants to put their email in the chat box, I'm being told that someone will collect all those and we'll be able to send handouts to anyone.
Sonia,
Yes.
I'll be able to put those, load those onto our website too.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be accessible with this recording on our website.
Okay. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, Shannon. Sonia, that was wonderful. Honest to goodness, when you hear about the tons and the numbers and the money and all of that to serve our youth in Great Falls, it's just huge. And your staff, your board have stuck it out together and continued to serve those kids, and how wonderful it is. And what I loved was that some families learned to let people help, and that's tough. That's really tough, you know. So thank you very much. And now we will go to Mike Dalton, who is a supervisor of the Fresh Rescue Kitchen Development. So Mike.
Thank you. I'm just reflecting on being here sincerely in the presence of so many community activists and servants. And I see one name that dropped off the screen here a couple minutes ago, and she's one of those that I've witnessed for years, is one of our best community advocates, and she is Patera. And I saw her often at City Commission meeting advocating for community health. So she's another good member of our community. I also want to mention that I'm going to have a talk with my studio lighting director, because as I look at my face on the screen, it appears that I did a very bad job of coloring my hair. That's not true at all. There's not much to color, and I didn't do that. So I know you were not concerned about that. I thank you, Great Falls Rising, for inviting me to share it with you. On behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of Cascade County, the St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank, and my nonprofit, which is the Kids Garden, which has been dedicated to kids for the past 8 years, located on the west side near the Flower Farm Nursery. My intent in visiting with all of you tonight is not to lament about the lack of healthy food available for our kids in our community. The food is there, we just need access to it. So instead, I'm asking Great Falls Rising to support our efforts to bring fresh local food to our hungry kids. Food support will be derived from partnerships with all of our fresh food purveyors in Great Falls. My Fresh Rescue colleagues and I have been developing this solution in nourishing our kids for over 10 years. The solution we're obviously calling Fresh Rescue. Why did we take on Fresh Rescue development? We can and must begin nourishing our kids with healthy food, those who are underserved. 10 years ago, my partners and I acknowledged that 95% of the food we consume in Montana is imported. We grow almost nothing for our consumption. Thus, we live in a chronic food desert environment. Sonia Smith, as you just heard, Director of the Boys and Girls, just apprised us of the first stages of developing our Fresh Rescue project. And to do what we need to do, we must become locally responsible and sustainable in providing food for our kids. So I'm extending an invitation to you to join me, Great Falls Rising. And here's how. To summarize, first of all, what Sonia said, where we have come in the last, especially the last 5 years, 6 years. In 2016, the Boys and Girls Club started feeding their kids in their programs 5 days a week of fresh meals with that food, fresh food and vegetables donated by the St. Vincent de Paul Society. You heard her speak of the tonnage, and she was not exaggerating. At the onset of COVID, the Boys and Girls initiated the other program that Sonia talked about, their Grab and Go program, and the Boys and Girls were joined by the Little Shell Tribe in distributing all of those hundreds and hundreds of food boxes every week. We've now launched into our next and probably our final phase, and that's development of the Fresh Rescue Community Kitchen. It is located downtown at 513 2nd Avenue South in a presently unoccupied building that was donated by NeighborWorks. Our 25 volunteer community kitchen staff stakeholders have donated tens of thousands of dollars in commercial grade kitchen equipment, architectural kitchen designs provided by Nelson Architects, and a refrigerated van paid for by the Chamber of Commerce's Leadership Great Falls Class of 21. That van will serve in the neighborhoods as our mobile soup kitchen. What's next? Remodeling this downtown building at 513 2nd Avenue South for installation of all that equipment, also to develop a third of that building to serve as a classroom for teaching and conducting health assessment for kids. Alluvian Healthcare will serve in that capacity, addressing both childhood obesity and diabetes risks. The remodeling and equipment installation at 513 begins next week. Finally, and here's why I've asked to talk to all of you advocates and members of Great Falls Rising. We need more local fresh food to serve our kids, to assist them in rebuilding their exhausted immune systems in order for them to continue to grow physically, mentally, and socially while contending with all of the stresses that come from all avenues, including COVID and hunger, etc. Our community health food purveyors, all of them, the grocery stores, the campuses, etc., they now can end their decades old wasting of dumping of thousands, and I mean thousands of pounds of fresh processed foods in the landfill. The rescuing of healthy foods from our community, profit and nonprofit licensed kitchens can begin today with you, Great Falls Rising, endorsing our movement to nourish our hungry kids. And with that endorsement, then we can knock on commercial kitchen doors asking for their leftovers to feed our hungry kids. 10 years ago, I designed a food leftover rescue program called Second Serving. Ironically, the Missoula Community Food Bank designed and launched a similar leftover rescue program. Their program continues to flourish today in service to their underserved communities of kids, adults, students, by providing all those leftovers. At that time, I attempted to engage one of our larger commercial kitchens here in Great Falls in a pilot project to begin rescuing their leftovers. I am so grateful that the kitchen manager declined my invitation to begin rescuing their leftovers because at the time we lacked the licensed facility necessary to process all of those leftovers. Well, today we're ready. Remember, and make special emphasis here, a healthy immune system and a well-nourished child can better protect him or her from the stresses of COVID, fear, hunger, family stresses, and chronic hunger, and faltering self-esteem and more by having enough healthy food to eat. How can you, Great Falls Rising, assist by accepting my invitation to organize a steering committee made up of my fellow colleagues who've spoken already tonight? With Great Falls Rising's endorsement, I will make appointments with food service directors and managers of all of our local licensed food establishments, the campuses, the caterers, the restaurants, and the institutions. And I'm asking the aforementioned presenters tonight to join me personally in making house calls at all those kitchens and make our pitch to all those kitchen supervisors to rescue their leftovers. Those leftovers will be transported quickly to our Fresh Rescue Community Kitchen for safely reprocessing and distribution to all of our youth all over the area. With the support and community collaboration of Great Falls Rising, along with the Boys and Girls Club and the St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank, we will ensure that all local kitchen entities will join us in rescuing their leftovers. It will cost those kitchens nothing in added labor costs. And with the presence of the Good Samaritan Act, we will be all secure in our efforts. I would like to convene a Zoom meeting with my colleagues who are present here tonight and convene that meeting sometime next week, so we can plan how we can make those calls to all of those kitchens in the very near future and negotiate a contract, if you will, where everybody remains secure and they will commit to giving us all of their daily leftovers and depriving the landfill of tons of food every year. I thank you, especially Great Falls Rising, for inviting me to join us in our community dream and our passion for locally nourishing hungry kids back to full stress-free health. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. I know Chuck and I have been over to your gardens several times, and we've been there when the Boys and Girls Club came and enjoyed the fruits of their efforts, literally. And it's just a wonderful program. And you speak with such heart and soul about the health and hoping to overcome hunger of the children in this community, that it's just marvelous. So
we can do it.
I know we can. So let's open it up to questions. And I see that there's one. Okay. The food tables that I'm engaged with should be able to help. Let's discuss, talk soon. Okay, well, Amy, do you want to tell a little bit about that? I know it's from you. Be sure to unmute. Amy, are you there?
You're sharing.
Well, okay. But Amy Rapp is involved in distribution of food as well. And so we'll get her involved in this also, Mike, because I think it's a really important to know that we're not duplicating efforts. So other questions for our speakers? If not, I do. Something unusual. Christy, the building that you are in is absolutely wonderful and large. And I know I've asked you this question before, but I'm going to ask it in front of other people. Do you think there's a possibility in the somewhat near future, and I realize this involves a cost, to have the students stay overnight, to have this be truly serving homeless on a sleeping basis?
So that would be a utopian dream for sure. But what we have seen, what the codes kind of limit us right now, it would be close to $1 million worth of upgrades that we would have to do to the building in order to host them overnight. I don't want to share too much, but we've actually been presented with a home from someone in the community that is going to be giving us their house. and we're going to be able to start doing a pilot project of being able to place some kids. Now, we've got to, again, see how we're going to staff that, get our volunteers. We're hoping that hopefully by July, we'll be placing kids and being able to refer. So what's great about it is we can still kind of serve as that central hub. And we're finding that our building is actually getting quite full with all of our services and programs.
Sure.
And another thing that I, failed to mention too, is we also added several Native American cultural activities during this last year. So we added Native American beading, Native American artwork, drumming and singing is every Thursday. And then we have a Native American 12-step recovery program. It's recovery support group. It's called Red Road to Wellbriety. We're seeing our demographic is about 85% Native American in the Youth Resource Center. So it is nice to have those added cultural services within the building too. We have fitness activities, between fitness activities for our sober life support groups. Our entire building is getting used very much daily, nightly, every night on the weekends. We have Boy Scouts that are using it on Sundays. We let our partners use our building as well. Human Trafficking Task Force just held that was a tongue twister. Wow. Just held their retreat in our building last week. We have the Youth Symphony that are going to be having their first concert of the year next Tuesday in our building. We had the Great Falls Symphony in our building, hosting 3 concerts there. So we're really looking at the building that we have right now as really being kind of a resource center hub. And so the kids can come to this safe space, and then we can kind of walk them through their individual needs. Not all of these kids, remember, need a place to stay. A lot of them are living doubled up in multiple homes, multiple families, situations, living in 1 or 2 bedroom apartments. We have currently like 1 family right now that we're servicing. It's several families, and there's 17 of them living in a 2 bedroom apartment. So getting ready for school is pretty challenging, right? When you have, 9 kids in that house that need to get ready for school. The food situation is touch and go. So sometimes the kids just show up and grab a snack, and they live actually within blocks of where we are. The others will play on our basketball court outside. Some will stay and do their laundry. Some will stay and do their homework. We have, multiple services. We will also see several of our kids are placed in foster kinship, where they're in the homes of their family members, but they've been taken out of their parents' home. And then they are also living in doubled up situations. So we have multiple families living with auntie, lots of kids, and they need support in regards to a shower and laundry and homework and things to make them feel better about then going to school, or trying to overcome some of the barriers that they're experiencing at the present time to be able to even look at being successful or wanting to look at and work at goals. So the home is really going to be our next step to see if there's truly a need for overnight. And we're excited about that, but there's more to come. That's all I can really say with that. But when we built this overnight, finding a place for overnight and doing transportation was going to be still on my list of things to tackle. And so I have stayed true to that as much as I can during these times of closures and uncertainty and COVID and everything else and all the challenges. I've been working with the mayor and our Great Falls Transit and seeing what we can do to expand our transit system, make it a little bit more user-friendly. We've been meeting with the transit to see how we can increase access for transportation in our community, as well as we've developed our own volunteer transportation program within Alliance for Youth. And we need more volunteers, we need more drivers to help us go around and pick up kids and help them get to safe places. So the transportation is still, and the overnight stay is still something that we're working at too, but we're getting closer.
Jerry, if I may contribute to the point of facilities, I talked to Lisa Beavers a couple of weeks ago and taking a tour, if you will, of their facility. At that time, she said that if it's on the drawing board at Alliance for Youth to have a licensed kitchen in their facility. Presently, it's prohibitive because of there's an added expense they didn't see coming. And so I offered to her that when we're up and running, she has access or knows knowledge of some chefs, some cooks who can come down to our kitchen and prepare those evening meals that the kids are getting up there. So that's
That would be great.
collaboration.
Yeah.
One other thing, speaking of Native Americans, I want to mention that the Little Shell tribe and 2J's Fresh donated, or didn't donate, they purchased thousands of dollars of shelf-ready food in the place of peanut butter, high protein peanut butter, and sugar-free trail mix that we now have in storage when we begin distributing food. So other partners paying it forward.
Well, I think what we're all hearing is information about organizations in our community that are doing incredible work. Some of the work they're doing on their own, some they're doing in conjunction with others. But we need to get the word out more as to what is going on and have our city commission, our county commission, et cetera, have this on their tongues whenever they want to extol the virtues of this community. And Mike, I know that you're going to convene a group next week, and that's terrific because that's certainly a start. But I know at this point, you've been working with all these groups. So folks, terrific presentations. We certainly will be keeping in touch as far as what Great Falls Rising can do, how we can get word out to the community, because we certainly do have access to media in the community. And are there any other questions from anyone in the group, in the audience? Well, hearing none, we really appreciate the four of you giving your time and energy and really heart and soul to us to find out what you're doing, and we will definitely be at your side. So thank you all very much. And I hope that people will consider something as far as big for the Big Brothers Big Sisters, and will consider going on a tour at Alliance for Youth and seeing what's going on there. We know that the Boys and Girls Club and Mike's Fresh Rescue have worked together for years. We want to hear more about that and see the results of that. So thank you very much, all of you, for joining us tonight. Good night.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
Good night.